somehow the ideology that markets solve everything, that the government here has understood from the beginning that it has a major role to play. Planning has been a proud part of this economy's success story, and the government has understood from the beginning that providing infrastructure and social services are of fundamental significance. I've been trying to teach that in my own country for a long time, and I also have found the hard job of rebuffing some of the ideology of the structural adjustment era that came to other poor regions of the world, and Malaysia has always been an exemplar of how the state takes on its due responsibility. I've been looking at relative poverty in Kedah State, and I'll visit other states as part of this assignment. One of the reasons why some relatively poor regions are not hardcore poor regions is that the government has ensured good infrastructure everywhere that I've seen. Roads, power, water. This is vital. That's the difference of isolated regions trapped in extreme poverty, as I see in so many other parts of the world, and the broad-based development that this country has experienced. Third has been a commitment to an open economy from the very beginning. This, of course, was Malaya's destiny even before independence. You're on the greatest trading route in the world, and you know it. This is a fundamental linkage between East Asia and Europe, and it's been the center of the shipping lanes for 500 years. And you play the role very well on that shipping lane because you know that the open economy is the core of success. And that export-led growth strategy has worked for this country. There's been a clever use of institutions, regional zones, industrial zones, export zones. There's been always a relentless determination to attract foreign investment, which is extremely important in a global economy as a conduit of technology and an opening to markets. Japanese and U.S. multinationals played a huge role here in the uptake of the electronics and machinery sectors, and this was all very beautifully promoted by government and by the society for 50 years. Next, the government was always committed to technology, and that's a feature of all Asian development, I might say, in contradistinction to other parts of the world. Here, the primary focus has been on technology upgrading. In other parts of the world, that most basic fact of economic development has been placed far down the list. But this country's understood it has to be in the technology business, and it has to be climbing the technology ladder. There's been a focus on regional balance, and now the northern corridor, the eastern corridor, the other corridors that are coming, this is basically a correct assessment that all parts of the country have to be part of a shared prosperity. And it forces good thinking in terms of infrastructure and industrial strategy. And I find that very, very important. There has been from the beginning a consensus on the need to address poverty issues, both hardcore poverty and relative poverty. And again, that has come because this country avoided a market fundamentalism which said just let trickle down do the work. That has never been the attitude here. The attitude always has been to invest in the poor, both the individuals and households and also the regions. And finally, there's no doubt that gender equality has played a huge role in this country. It has been promoted throughout the history of the country, and you have so many wonderful women leaders of the economy, from your fantastic central bank governor and so many others, and this is a testimony to a society that's using all its human resources, and that is a rarity, unfortunately, in the world. Even in my own country, I wish we saw more of it. but in many other parts of the world, desperately behind. So these are the things that I believe are at the core of the fantastic successes here. Now, Malaysia is not living on its laurels, it's looking forward. And in a few minutes, I wanted to talk about the future, building on this splendid record of success. And it does seem to me that Malaysia, as a solid upper middle income country aspiring to high income status in little more than a decade, and one that will achieve that certainly, still has some pretty challenging tasks ahead. And if you'll forgive me, I just wanted to share a few perceptions of what some of those challenges are. I think from the pure economic side, nothing is more important than the continuing mastery and advance of technology, becoming a high technology society and a high technology economy, and basically an innovation economy. And in this regard, I would say that while Malaysia's made some progress, it certainly is not yet there. I was looking this morning at patent registrations, for example, in the United States by different countries in this region. And in 2006, the patents that were granted, for example, to South Korea numbered 5,908 patents. To Taiwan, 6,360 patents. To Israel, 1,218 patents in the U.S. Singapore, 412 patents. Malaysia, 113 patents. That's by far not the bottom of the list, but it also shows that Malaysia has been, and in a way continues to be, a technology importer more than an innovator. That's not quite fair because there's lots of innovation going on. A lot of the advance in the agriculture sector, for example, is improved clonal varieties, higher productivity of rubber trees and of palm oil, palm trees and so forth. But there's a lot more that can be done. And I believe that establishing a vibrant innovation system in this country is the biggest task ahead in lifting Malaysia from this upper middle income status to high income status. It is almost the definition of high income countries, certainly of high income countries of a population and diversity as large as this country. Innovation systems are complicated beasts. They actually fit the pragmatism of this country because innovation systems do not just rely on the private sector, they don't just rely on the public sector, they don't just rely on the academic sector. Innovation systems are a complicated ecology which brings together public institutions, private institutions, academic institutions, domestic institutions, and foreign partners. It's quite a rich brew. It's the universities working closely with business. It's national laboratories or agricultural research centers working closely with academia and then transmitting knowledge for further development to the private sector. And I think that there's a lot to be done in this regard. Second, and obviously extremely closely related, is building up the higher education sector itself. And here I'm thrilled to hold a visiting professorship at the University of Malaya, a great institution. I think you need to continue to build new and more great institutions of higher learning all over this country, technical institutions and liberal arts institutions and medical faculty.